16 by 9, the bigger picture.
He's obviously very disappointed for not winning the gold medal.
The lows are always lower than the high.
Life has kicked you in the teeth and tried to bring you down.
And stomped me on the backs of the legs and yeah, lots.
That's all coming up on 16 by 9. Here's Mary Garofalo.
Good evening and welcome to 16 by 9, the bigger picture. There was a time when the name Shawn O'Sullivan was on the lips of just about every Canadian. A boxing superstar who won a silver medal at the 1984 Olympic Games and earned Golden Boy status. He was once voted Canada's top athlete, surpassing even Wayne Gretzky. But what happened to this national hero? Well, in his first television interview in almost 2 decades, Shawn O'Sullivan sits down exclusively with 16 by 9 to reveal some stunning, never-before-told details about his life. We watched anxiously as he ran towards us at this footbridge in Belleville, Ontario. The boxer was walking his boxer, Tony.
Are you my old friend?
It has been 25 years since I first interviewed the famous Shawn O'Sullivan. Now 47 years old, Shawn's Irish choir boy looks haven't faded. And at this reunion of sorts, it became painfully clear that although Shawn has left boxing, the effects of boxing have not left Shawn.
Someone succeeded in trying to stay in the same pant size, and that's very good.
A wounded survivor of this tough sport. Today, Shawn O'Sullivan is a little older, a little grayer, but just as charming.
I wanted to shave my head.
Since fading into the limelight, there have been many rumors about Shawn O'Sullivan. Is there brain damage? Does he have a drinking problem? And did he really work as a janitor at a school? And for the first time, Shawn sits down with 16 by 9 to set the record straight.
The lows are always lower than the high.
And the highs made Shawn O'Sullivan a star, captivating us all. The proverbial boy next door, whose powerful punch put Canada on the map.
To be honest with you, I want Canada to feel proud.
Born into a staunchly loyal Irish Catholic family, Shawn grew up in Toronto's East End, the 7th child of Rita and Michael O'Sullivan. Shawn, the baby of the family, needed to make his mark. What made you go into that ring?
It was just an opportunity to do something better than my brothers. Growing up the youngest of a bunch of boys, you're never fast enough, you're never smart enough, you never say the right thing, you can't lift enough because they're bigger than you.
And at 16, Shawn walked into the Cabbagetown Boxing Club and never looked back. Peter Wiley would become his trainer.
A very courageous individual, was very disciplined, and damn it, was a good fighter. He would never quit.
You've got to protect yourself. Keep your hands up.
Stardom came fast and furious in 1981. At the tender age of 19, Shawn defeated Cuban Olympic gold medalist Armando Martinez to win the gold medal in the World Amateur Championships. And then the big moment. At 23, Shawn O'Sullivan represented Canada at the Olympic Games in Los Angeles, a moment that would catapult him into sports megastardom, making him a media darling.
The kid had power. Look at O'Sullivan open up.
Tell me about the rounds leading up to it. What were you going through?
I had, in total, I boxed 5 times in about 12 days. My first match. Can you edit this?
It was at this point in the interview that we saw how boxing may have taken a toll on Shawn O'Sullivan. He admits his memory loss is becoming a bigger problem, and we watched as he struggled to remember one of the biggest highlights of his life.
Who did I box against?
But tucked deep in his memory, the pain of losing the gold medal match against American Frank Tate.
I'd given him 2 standing 8 counts, almost knocked him out. Didn't happen, that's fine. Thought that I had done enough to merit a yay as opposed to a nay. Ultimately, it came down as a nay. and I didn't get the winning nod.
Oh, I don't believe it.
Shawn had just won the silver medal, but you'd never know it by the crowd's reaction. In front of the entire world at that moment, Shawn embodied the meaning of the words, playing with heart.
Shawn O'Sullivan now at ring center receiving a standing ovation.
After the fight, the crowd were cheering for him and not for Frank Tate. Frank Tate's girlfriend even admitted that Shawn had beat him that night.
He's obviously very disappointed for not winning the gold medal.
It was a great time. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Well, maybe I would now.
Shawn came home a national hero. He was loved and applauded by prime ministers, other fellow athletes, and just about anyone who laid eyes on him.
Have you heard about the big strong man? He's Shawn O'Sullivan. Have you heard about the gold medal fight? Well, oh, what a hell of a fight.
And almost immediately, Shawn decided to turn pro. He admits it changed his life, and not for the better.
It sort of had now became a business and a job. The game got to be rough, tiresome.
At 26, you were married, right?
Married a girl I met in church. Have now made 5 children that I'm responsible for.
Was there pressure for you to make a very good living at this? I mean, what were you getting paid per matches?
There were lots of $80,000 to $110,000 type paydays. By the time the pros came to life, I was interested in the bottom line. How much am I getting paid? I didn't care if it was fight number 17 or fight number 20. What's the venue? What's the seat count? And how much am I going to make?
Because of his personality and his character, I really don't think he was made for professional boxing. Because you have to be not only a great fighter, but you also have to be an entertainer in the business. And he wasn't that kind of person.
And Shawn was taking his hits, not knowing the damage it was causing his brain. And in an incredible admission, he says one day he woke up and he was blind.
I never told anyone that. No, you know what? My left eye was blind, and my right eye was on the line.
The very nature of it so far has come as a surprise.
After the break,
And for the first time in a lot of years, they shake your hand and pat you on the back and say, good luck, kid, and go do something else.
that's next. We're back with the bigger picture.
He was a bona fide Canadian celebrity and a perfect role model in a less than perfect sport. Shawn O'Sullivan was a boxing legend who one day just faded away, leaving behind his fans, his friends, and even some of his family. Tonight, Shawn tells us what happened in his own words.
O'Sullivan's knockout power has decided.
It was the punch that knocked Shawn O'Sullivan into retirement, a bout that would mark the start of a very difficult period in O'Sullivan's life. Having suffered a big loss to Donovan Boucher, a boxer from the same Cabbagetown Boxing Club and trained by the same man who stood in Shawn's corner at the Olympic Games, Peter Wiley.
I guess I caught him in the right spot. I won that fight, you know. It was a great night for me. You know, it could have been me in Shawn's shoes right now.
It was a tragic situation, I thought, and to me, it was the end of his career in boxing. We talked to each other in the dressing room, and we resolved that he would go out to the press conference and announce his retirement, and that was it for boxing.
I remember getting up, and I thought, oh yeah, I got nothing to do today, and then the next day came, and you still didn't have nothing to do. And the next day came, and the 5th and 10th and 30th and 100th day came, and you didn't have nothing to do, because your life had been, for the last number of years, guided by a sport. dictated to you by a coach or someone to how to be and how not to be. And for the first time in a lot of years, they shake your hand and pat you on the back and say, good luck, kid, go do something else. Okay, now what?
And the now what became the focus of Shawn's existence. His family made sure he was equipped with an education. He even attended classes at the University of Toronto. Yet Shawn says he felt lost. What did you do? Tell me some of your jobs.
I renovated homes, painted homes. Called a policeman, a friend of mine. He got back to me and said, here's the name, here's the number, call him, do you have work boots?
What was the job?
Being a janitor. It was so the steel-toe shoes were in the warehouse, and it was working, just cleaning up.
Right.
Again, it immediately gave me a medical and dental plan, and a pretty decent salary.
The pressure of becoming a mere mortal again, out of the media spotlight, became too great. And in the early 90s, Shawn O'Sullivan decided to come out of retirement, determined to prove he still had his fighting Irish fists. What was your first rematch after that, coming out of retirement?
That would be in the Catskills. I mean, it paid bills. You never made home run paychecks.
Then what happened? How'd you end up back home again?
Came home from the Catskills with a few medical necessities. I never told anyone that. You know that?
It is something he never told his family, friends, even his trainer. His secret? He had been boxing with little to no vision until one day when he woke up and he was blind.
My left eye was blind, and my right eye was on the line. I had developed cataracts in both my eyes.
Was it because of the boxing?
Yeah, there was evidently trauma to the eye.
Shawn says he came back to Toronto and was operated on immediately, restoring some of his vision. But instead of hanging up the gloves, he says he foolishly went back into the ring for more poundings. Even after everything you went through, you went back in that ring. And did you go in that ring with any kind of hesitation?
No, I wasn't scared at all.
But a CAT scan of his brain would change all that in a mandatory procedure required yearly in order to have his boxing license renewed. In 1996, Shawn was given a frightening prognosis.
The CAT scan, it showed abnormalities.
Shawn says there was brain damage, and the neurologist refused to renew his boxing license, officially ending his boxing career. Were you angry?
No.
Were you? No?
I was sort of saying, phew, like, phew. Thank God. Thank you, buddy. You finally said, you don't have to do this anymore.
Shawn eventually moved his wife and 5 children to Belleville, Ontario, a 3-hour drive north of Toronto. But it wasn't long after that his marriage would abruptly come to an end, served with divorce papers he knew nothing about.
He was a nice guy. He said, God, Shawn, sorry, I'm sorry to bring you this. And he handed me this envelope. I said, oh, thank you. What is it? He said, well, I said, I think it's divorce papers. I said, wow, okay. He said, you okay with it? I said, well, I may as well be. I guess it's a case of somebody doesn't want me.
Today, Shawn lives alone with his dog Tony in this house. He admits he is estranged from his once close-knit brothers and sister. His father, Michael, suffers from Parkinson's disease, and his mother, Rita, is now deceased. And there is also the physical pain from years of being hit.
He's up. That's it. That's the right hand that did it.
Just getting through a day. Hoping to God you're able to walk that day, or your hands and shoulders aren't killing. And then there's memory things. I mean, there's a ton of balls that I juggle every day that I know most never ever have to bother with.
Like trying to remember something?
Unless you write it down, I've forgotten it. And I don't have a pen today. Yeah.
Is that frustrating for you?
It's annoying, but you just learn to manage it. That's all. You just manage it.
Are you working? How are you making money?
There's a league of sort of late 40s to 75 ballpark age, late 40s and above, called dragon boating, within which the 3 years that I've been with them and helping them train, they've won 2 world championships. So
So are you making a living out of this?
Oh, it pays the rent and feeds Tony and.
Have you retired with all kinds of money?
No. No, I've retired with a lot of fond memories, a lot of trophies, a lot of memorabilia.
And now, even some of that is gone. Shawn suffered a final blow when burglars broke into his apartment and stole 10 irreplaceable sports rings.
The very first ring was one that I got from Prime Minister Trudeau. I didn't know who would or could or had the desire to do this.
Life has kicked you in the teeth and tried to bring you down.
And stomped me on the backs of the legs and yeah, lots.
Coming up on 16 by 9.
I would have to say, frankly, that I was assaulted by the police.
That's next. Welcome back to 16 by 9, the bigger picture.
He fought his way through life as a champion boxer, but Shawn O'Sullivan never pictured himself going a few rounds with cops. It was another setback for this once boxing great who says he has pictures to prove what police did to him. And a warning, some of these photos are graphic. At first glance, you'd think you were looking at photos of Shawn O'Sullivan after one nasty pro fight. This was one nasty fight, all right, but according to Shawn, it wasn't in the ring. It was right outside his house with Belleville police.
I would have to say, frankly, that I was assaulted by the police.
What triggered this incident with police was for months now, Shawn has been searching desperately to locate Olympic memorabilia stolen from his apartment. 10 irreplaceable sports rings, one given to him by Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
They're not worth nothing except that which they're worth to me.
He says he recently got a tip that one of his neighbors might have some information about his stolen rings. But Shawn says when he made his way to his neighbor's door,
he looked up, saw me, and then literally ran at me from his back deck and punched me. So I thought, okay, fine, you idiot, you didn't hit me, I hit you. And I did.
Police were called and things only got worse.
They twisted my arms to a degree that they probably shouldn't. They threw me on the ground.
Shawn says the next thing he knew, he was being tasered.
I said, why are you doing this? I haven't resisted you guys once. One of the officers grabbed me by the back of the hair and slammed my head down on a wooden block, cutting all of my forehead.
Police charged Shawn with assault and mischief.
Mr. O'Sullivan showed signs of intoxication and was in an agitated state.
We contacted Belleville police to find out what happened. They would not take any questions or allow us to interview them.
Throughout the arrest, he was physically resistant.
Shawn says police claims he was drunk are not true. He says because he suffers from what is called boxer dementia, or more commonly known as being punch drunk, he is often mistaken for being intoxicated.
That's a medical term given to fighters, boxers who have had brain damage that is quite evident.
And do you think you're in that category?
Yeah, I probably suffer from it.
And there have been other minor run-ins with the law. Shawn says he was convicted in 2002 for assaulting his then-wife and also for possession of an illegal substance. That substance was a very small quantity of marijuana, which he claims he uses to help relieve his constant physical pain. He says these are some of the reasons why he faded out of the limelight. This former boxing great says he hasn't walked into a ring for years, so we took him back to where it all started, the Cabbagetown Boxing Club. Well, there you are. See you. Watching Shawn was like watching someone who was meeting up with an old friend he didn't really want to see.
Good to you.
But it was obvious, even after so many years away from the limelight, Shawn is still a star.
Well, it's great to know. If only some of the bills could get covered by that.
He says he didn't have the heart to watch the Olympic torch come through Belleville, knowing he would not be part of the Olympic moment. Would you have liked to?
I would have loved to. Yeah, I would have loved to.
It is missed moments like this that have angered those who love Shawn the most.
A person of his magnitude, an unbelievable image for amateur sports in Canada, and him not to be recognized when we have the Olympics here in Canada, embarrassing.
The kid had power.
Today, all Shawn has left are his memories. But despite the toll this sport that made him famous has taken on his body and mind, he speaks no ill about it.
No.
No?
I still am in support of boxing. Really, I am. Again, you and me would be talking here now if that game called boxing wasn't in existence.
This boxing great may momentarily be down for the count, but the count isn't over yet. And so the big question remains, where does Shawn O'Sullivan go from here?
There were a lot of good times, a lot of bad times. The low in my life were always worse than the highs. The low. I always knew that about me. How's about meeting in 25, again?
Got yourself a deal, buddy. And that's it for us tonight. If you have a story idea, just call us at 1-877-TEL-169 or email us at global16by9.com. You can also send us a message on Facebook or Twitter. I'm Mary Garofalo. Thank you for watching. And from all of us here, good night.
Want more on tonight's stories? Check our exclusive video on global16by9.com. "16 by 9, the bigger picture." That's a wrap.